Welcome back, Brickmaniacs. It's time for another one of our monthly SitRep episodes. So this is kind of our longer form where we're able to sit down and discuss the happenings of this past month and also what's coming up in the future here at Brickmania. So obviously joining me today is Dan and Cody and Landon. So we're going to go through a lot of the cool stuff we did here this past month, including the events, and then we're also going to take a look at what's coming up for the month of October, and then we're going to take a look at some of the new models that are going to be released over October too. So we're going to do that at the end, so make sure you stick around so that you can hear kind of their notes and thoughts on some of that as well. But guys, let's start a little bit with September and some of the models that came out there. We've got kind of the bigger releases here in front of us. Some of them are still actually available on brickmania.com as well, but the one we're going to start initially with is not anymore, and that is the HE111 H16. So Cody, talk to me a little bit about this build and just kind of the the work that put into building an aircraft of this size, and maybe some of the cool stuff you learned about it.
Well, it was a different kit, just size-wise, I think, because you think about it being a bomber, you think it's going to be really big, but then also it's a medium bomber, so it's not as big as other bombers. So it kind of threw me for a loop. I wasn't sure how long it was going to take to design it, and do all the other steps to follow, get a parts list, get instructions done. But it ended up working out great. It's a really strong plane for its size. Still have the dihedral wing. It's playable. It's got a lot of playability features. There's 8 bombs inside that have you're able to drop them without opening up the fuselage to drop the bombs and open up the doors, slide everything back. It's super playable, super fun. Fits a crew of 5.
Very cool. So yeah, that was kind of the big one that kicked off the month of September. Let's talk, before we get into the other models, let's talk a little bit about, so the new initiative for this month was the minifigure of the month. And so we kind of kicked that off, basically going to make it, create it for that entire month. And then after that, we'll stop production on it. They'll be available until they sell out, and then there's no restock set for the future. So what kicked that off was the 82nd Airborne. Go over a little bit why you chose this figure, some of the details on it, and just all around your experience with the first minifigure.
Yeah, right on. We chose the 82nd Airborne. So the 101st Airborne came out recently, and that was hugely popular. And we just wanted to get to the 82nd Airborne as well. We've done the 101st a few times. I think we did the 82nd Airborne once way back in the day, but that was just a different arm patch. So this was kind of pulling out all the stops to get that 360 camouflage, field applied camouflage, and just get this figure out there for the masses so anybody who wanted one could get one. And it's still available, and once they're gone, they're gone. We're not releasing them again, right, Dan?
Correct.
They're not being restocked.
Because we only have one minifig of the month. Yeah, we have like 400 some minifigs, and we can't just keep introducing new minifigs when so many people want the old figures. So this is kind of our solution. We'll do a once and done, and that way we're free to keep restocking some of the old ones. Right. If we do another 82nd, it'll be a drastically different one.
There's a bunch of different ammo pouch configurations, different squad members, that kind of stuff. So this is the only time you'll see this configuration, and then once this design is done, then we're going to retire it. But we should have enough that everybody that wants one can get one, and that's all month.
And just a reminder too that obviously the sticker packs will still contain a lot of variety. So if you're looking for a whole crew with a lot of different loadouts and stuff like that, make sure you check out those Brickmania sticker packs, because the price point is really nice with them too. So as long as you have your own figs, you can make that happen there as well. Okay, so going back to the models here, Dan, you had another main battle tank come out here in the month of September. That is the T-64A with this cool looking gill armor and kind of Cold War camo, I believe. Tell me a little bit about your experience building this. Obviously a low profile turret there. Did you learn anything, or what was exciting about it?
Well, I found it's hard to find any information about this, because this was the top secret frontline state of the art Soviet tank from the early 70s up until the dissolution of the Soviet Union. They do actually still make this. The factory happened to be in the Ukraine, so now the T-64 is manufactured in the Ukraine. Highly modified since this day. This is the early version. This is the version that the NATO tanks would have been facing. Had war broken out in the 80s or 90s or 70s, late 70s. This is what the NATO forces would have been facing. It's basically the same configuration of a T-72, but everything on it's better. It's like the state of the art optics, state of the art loader, auto loader, engine, and just about everything the T-72 is just kind of like the budget version of this.
Okay.
So this is the more dangerous, the more accurate, the stuff that the crack troops would be driving. And that for that reason, we could not find there's just not an abundance of documentation about this this vehicle out there. So it was actually quite tough to find actual Cold War era documentation, photos, things like that, because it was just that secret.
Very secretive tank. Well, that was a cool one to kick off with. I know it's super unique looking tank too, just with this plate armor on the side there. That makes it pretty sweet. And then there's something like 17 printed elements on this?
Yeah, I think it's 19. And then you have sticker sheets, so you get different turret numbers, and then of course a fully printed tanker, so to go with it.
Yeah.
It's quite a set. We have 100 made. I still believe there's quite a few left of the first batch, and probably at this point we have so many things coming up that if we do come back to do a restock, it'd be way off in the future.
Yeah, okay, so get yours while they last. Once again, some of these September releases are still available on brickmania.com, so make sure you check those out. One of those, and actually who knows if there'll be any left by now, but one of those other pretty popular releases was the Mosquito. So Cody, tell me a little bit about this. Obviously we got to see it at EAA AirVenture, which was super cool for research purposes, but then you get to actually come back and build this plane. Tell me a little bit about what you learned and just kind of the general process behind it.
So speaking of what you mentioned, that we saw one at EAA, that's the variant I went for. That's the color scheme I went for, was the one that was physically sitting there that we were able to approach and stick our heads up in the landing gear nacelles and see how the bomb bay doors are. You could actually see the 20mm cannons that they had inside. And that was newly restored. I think that was like one of the first times that they had it unveiled after it had been restored. So it's just a beautiful airplane. So I tried to incorporate that color scheme as best I could. And it's a light bomber. That's my first light bomber I've ever built.
Twin engine.
Yeah, twin engine, wooden airframe.
Yeah.
How did that,
For the most part, yeah, the wooden wonder.
Yeah.
how did that look at EAA when you were?
You
you
can't
can
really
get a
tell.
closer inside look at that, but you couldn't really tell that it was wooden. Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's so many of the components are still metal.
Sure.
And you wouldn't know unless you were touching it.
It's
that it didn't
like
feel
the
metal.
airframe, and a lot of it's amazing. We went and saw so many planes, and certain things like tailplanes, things like that, they were actually fabric on a lot of these planes just to save weight.
Yep.
So you think of like these, difference between World War I and World War II. Oh yeah, they're all metal body. It's not necessarily true. They still use fabric whenever possible in order to save weight. It has the same aeronautical, aerodynamic effects. Works just as great, but it's just a lot lighter.
Yeah, lighter and faster. That was the goal. At one time, it was one of the fastest aircraft in the world, especially for being a bomber.
So does it have two of those the same engines in the Spitfire?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, Merlin engines.
Oh, very cool.
Two Merlin engines.
So 2 Merlin engines and a plane that's not that much bigger.
Yeah.
So
Fast.
that
Very
was
fast.
designed
Fast.
to be fast.
Yep.
That's a hot rod. That's cool.
And they had a lot of different variants too. That's the fighter bomber variant. Seemed to be one of the more popular variants.
I bet the pilots like that.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of machine guns on your nose there.
That was definitely an effective plane, and I thought the story with the Black Widow was kind of funny too. How we sent a whole bunch of them over to England, and they were kind of like, "Thanks, but also this works pretty well, so we'll probably just stick with this."
Yep.
One of the other releases in the month of September, I'm gonna reach forward here and grab the M109 Paladin, which is an Andrew Summers build. Dan, tell me a little bit about what you know about this bad boy, and then obviously we'll touch on the 3D printed muzzle brake as well.
Well, this is the M109, which what variant is this? The A?
A6.
It's the A6. It's the very newest one. So this is the sort of the state of the art of the United States and our allies self-propelled 155mm tracked self-propelled artillery, I should say. It's quite a cool vehicle. They developed these things back when the Cold War was still happening, and it sort of pushed the Russians into developing their own. But it's a massive vehicle, 155. They keep upgrading it, so the ones that they introduced around the Vietnam era are drastically different than the ones that they have today.
Sure.
The idea was that we wanted a self-propelled tracked artillery piece that could have the entire crew inside, because prior to this, all the big artillery pieces, especially the 155s, the crew was on the outside, totally exposed. So this was a drastic change in that and a huge upgrade. This version is pretty cool. I mean, it has lots of cool working features on it, working suspension, all the opening hatches. The gun elevates. We have this really sweet custom printed muzzle brake.
Yeah, which from what I understood, that was kind of a labor of love in getting right, because it was not exactly like you could just Google a picture of a close-up of the muzzle brake on a howitzer and figure that out from there.
Yeah, and this is also the latest version, so they do have changed over time. It does have that Mark 19 grenade launcher on it, which I thought was pretty cool. Like, you want to protect your assets in the field. So why not put a grenade launcher?
Yeah, as if the main cannon wasn't enough firepower that really.
Right, if that
You're
wasn't
not doing
deterrent
direct line
enough.
of sight with that main cannon.
You could.
Could you?
Yeah, they did it in World War II. That's how they
Well,
took out
there we go.
the Siegfried line.
So yeah, very impressive build. Obviously, just a big kit. I mean, comparatively, this is huge. Got a lot of opening parts, and like we said, there's also an interior in there, so you can fit your crew in a very playable model.
This has been a long time coming. Andrew was excited to get a turreted vehicle for after a whole series of non-turreted vehicles.
Well, and it is. I mean, the turret itself too has a lot of cool angles and stuff to it, so you can tell he had to implement a lot of building techniques just to get that to work out right. But it looks really good, and props to him.
Yeah,
It's cool. All right, so moving on from there, we have the first of the Lockheed Martin kits. So as many of you know, if you've been paying attention on our YouTube channel, we recently just got a deal with Lockheed Martin so that now these kits are officially licensed, and we decided to reintroduce the F-16, and instead of doing it as a kit and then with the add-on pack, we are now adding them both together. So this was a pretty cool thing to see come back in action. I mean, just anybody who wants to comment on just kind of the Lockheed license in general, and then just the return of, I mean, obviously sitting next to this here, we'll get to the F-22. We are going to talk about the releases coming up in October. We will get there, so make sure you stick around if you want to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so with the licensing, we're able to use their logo on anything and everything now, and in relation to whatever vehicle we're producing. And there's, I think it was kind of educational for a lot of us as to what companies make what, and who owns the copyrights to certain vehicles, because there's a lot of things that were made with two companies having a hand in designing process. So it's taken some research. We have a long list of what we want to make with Lockheed Martin and Sikorsky.
And that's just a sort of continuation of where we want to go. We do a lot of buildings with in conjunction with museums, historical societies, and it's only logical that we would go to approach the actual manufacturers and say get not only official permission, but it's sort of a nod at us and saying, yeah, what you're doing is up to our standards as well. So Lockheed Martin, which owns the trademark on the F-16, it's kind of like a badge for us that we have the approval of Lockheed Martin and the General Dynamics brand, that we can represent them. So that's what we're trying to do. And if you're wondering why some of the older stuff that, why don't you restock this, why don't you restock that, it's because we made a decision that we're not going to do anything without actual official permission. So moving forward, we're still working on, we have a whole bunch of works in progress, but the Lockheed Martin and Sikorsky are two brands that we are actually moving forward with, two of many that we're moving forward with. So.
Right.
That is really awesome that they're giving us their seal of approval. Essentially, it's like you're cool to do this, so it's pretty awesome.
And I think that the exciting thing, obviously, a kit like this is excited to see come back, but also it's just cool that what it opens up for the future. And obviously, we'll get there with some of the models that are sitting in front of us. But just what that means for the future of Brickmania is pretty cool. So that kind of covers our big releases from September. So moving on from there, we're going to start talking about some of the events that we went to in September. Obviously, that would be Bricking Bavaria and then also Tank Farm. So Cody, we haven't had a chance really to hear from you about your Tank Farm experience yet, other than what we saw through social media. So tell me a little bit about what that was like. Thankfully, the weather held off. It looked like it was okay down there. What was your experience?
Yeah, it was a better experience than what we had last year, because we kind of got rained out the previous year. We had to pack everything up same day, and
Sunday morning we're out the door.
Yeah, so that was kind of a bummer last year. So this year we're actually able to bring a smaller setup, quicker setup, had more time to walk around and inspect the vehicles and get some cool videos. And yeah, good turnout. A lot of people wanted to see us there, and
Yeah, I saw you posting a ton of pictures on social media. That was cool to see that.
yeah, we got to ride on a Duster. That was fun. I think Dan, you've gotten to ride the Duster before.
Not the Duster. I got to sit in it.
Oh,
Yeah, they were going to, I think, the previous.
Twice had opportunities, and twice something else happened. Something came up that we couldn't do it. So
yeah, sometimes the vehicles don't
Lucky.
always end up running.
yeah,
Sometimes there's technical difficulties.
or the announcer will call out a different vehicle than the one you're sitting in. They have to quick change vehicles.
Yeah, so it was fun. Got to
Jealous.
tool around for 5 minutes or so. A lot of fun. A lot of cool
very
guys
cool.
there.
Well, once again, so that's Tank Farm in Noakesville, Virginia. They do it every year, and I believe it's because they're hoping to have a museum eventually down there, right? So it's kind of a fundraiser to eventually get that
Yes,
project.
it's the Virginia Museum of Armor, and they call it the Americans in Wartime Museum. That's what they're doing. So it's sort of an evolution in progress, but they are breaking ground on a new museum. that will feature all of these tanks and all this history stuff as displays, and not just static displays. They will actually, these are operational things. So they will have like a reenactors camp, things like that they will do as part of the museum. So I've heard that they're breaking ground already, but it's a multi-million-dollar endeavor. So they're constantly fundraising, showing off what they have. So that's what the open house is just sort of a warm-up of what they want to do. That's all going to be in Prince William County in Virginia, right near where the next Brickmania store is going to be open, actually.
Very cool. So, and then the other event for the month was Bricking Bavaria, which obviously the three of us were at. So, Landon, we'll start with you. Just give me some notes on your experience over there. First time in Germany, correct?
Yeah, first time in Germany. Really awesome. I love the roads out there. It was fun watching Dan drive. I'm like, but he did a very good job. They're very efficient on I like the multiple speeds per lanes. Anyways, that was cool. The convention was awesome. Again, they're German, so they love their Technic Lego theme, right? And so that was by far one of the biggest Technic displays I've ever seen at a Lego convention. That was really cool to see that. And it was just a fun time. Like totally, it went by so fast. So
right.
it'd be nice to just spend a bit more time there in the future. That was cool.
And I thought it was in particular it was cool is that a lot of the German military, and not just German, European military builders actually showed up. Not everybody displayed, but people came from all over, like collectors and people that had big, had put on their own displays. But they're traveling from other countries and bring a lot of stuff. But I think this was probably the biggest display of collaborative display of military builders that had ever been done in Europe and Germany in particular. And we got to meet some people, the guys from like Valiant Bricks, was it Berlin?
Brick Factory Berlin.
Brick Factory Berlin. Yeah, the brain fart. But yeah, it was cool to see some of these people that we interact with online and actually meet them in person. So it's we're part of a global community, and actually seeing some of those other people, I thought was really cool.
Well, yeah, and being a little new here too. Like I didn't quite understand the length that some people would go to travel, and I suppose we did make the trip to come across the pond, so like that was closer than we had ever gotten before. But like just the amount of people who were like, oh yeah, I drove up from France, or I drove from Italy, or I came down from the Netherlands. I was just like, wow, okay, well thanks, good to meet you guys. This is a really cool experience. So yeah, that was eye opening.
Yeah, I mean I don't, there's a certain segment of people who came to that event because we were there, and it's always great. It makes our time more worthwhile to go on these adventures, and we will continue to do that, I think.
Yeah, it's always fun meeting the fans. Like, I just really appreciate just interacting with the people that love what we're doing. So, thank you for showing up, whoever is watching right now. But it's always cool putting faces to names. So.
Yeah, it was definitely a cool experience, and we hope to be back and do more stuff over there, which we are going to be doing more stuff in the UK. We'll get to that in a minute. So right now, once again, we are going to go over the new releases for October. We are going to cover all these cool things you see sitting here in front of you. But right now, we just have a couple of announcements to get through quick first. So first of all, the Schaumburg and Chantilly stores are going to be opening soon, so stay tuned for updates on that. The easiest way to do that is to either be subscribed to our newsletter or keep watching social media. We will post everywhere once those stores are open, so you guys will be the first to know. Trust me, we're not going to hold back any information. Also, join the Facebook group of the store closest to you, because then you'll be able to interact with store managers, and then that will also be able to update you on events that are specific to that store, so that you'll know about that location and what their happenings are there as well. We started a podcast. Brickmania the podcast is going to be available at brickmaniatoys.com/podcast or on SoundCloud. So make sure to check that out. Let us know what you want us to chat about and what if you like that there. Some of you guys know that we have the Frontline Flyer, which is kind of the poster that's been freely available in our stores. We are not going to be doing that anymore, but we are going to put those coupon codes into our newsletter. So make sure that you are signed up for the Brickmania newsletter. You can get there, brickmania.com/news. Sign up for that, and then those discounts will show up right in your inbox. There's no easier way. And then you can also use those discounts every time you order. So there's no easier way to save money than by doing that right there. Lenny, you want to show off that sticker? Yeah, so we're going to do exclusive monthly stickers now that are going to be free with every one of your purchases, and then after that month is over, they will also be available for purchase if there are some left over, but then by then there will be a new monthly sticker, so make sure you get on that as well. Our modern aircraft mock contest just came to an end. We will be announcing the winner of that contest on the 10th of October, so stay tuned here if you won that contest. Hopefully you participated. And then we're also going to be changing up our mock contests a little bit here. So this next mock contest is going to run October through December, so a little bit longer time to build. It is going to be it's going to be just Navy themed, but that is in honor of the U.S. Navy's birthday, which is October 13th. They were founded in 1775. So the theme is going to be all things Navy, not just the U.S., but worldwide, so you can do battles, famous ships, but the rules is that it must be a new build, no old photos or mocks. We will be double checking that. It has to be an event that actually happened or a ship that actually existed, so make sure to do your research there. And then considering the extra time, we want to see your biggest and best builds yet. So make sure you put in the effort to do something that is a good scale and is a large, impressive build. Okay, so that is my rambling done for a minute there.
That's
we just
impressive.
had to get all that stuff out there.
I always admire that you can get through this giant list of
Well, I know that
announcements.
people don't tune in to listen
and not
to me
turn
talk,
blue when you're doing
but
that.
we just got to get through all that stuff so that the information is out there and we can understand what's going on. Okay, so we are about to get to the new releases for October, but before we do that, let's touch on the October event. You guys are heading over to the UK to go to the Tank Museum on October 8th. Literally all three of you, they're sitting right here. Talk to me a little bit about what we have going on over there and what you guys are excited for.
We're starting off with a meet and greet. That's the big thing that we want you to join if you can make it. So meet and greet.
Tank Museum at Bovington.
Yes.
Or Bovington, or however you pronounce it. Well, I'm sure
figure that out before we go
we'll
there.
be schooled, I'm sure.
That meet and greet will be on October 8th from 1:30 to 2:30. And obviously you guys are going to be there, so that's a cool part, but there's also something else that people who can get there may get to see. Dan, you want to shed some light on that?
Well, the point, I mean, it's not just a meet and greet. Of course, we're going to be there and you know, there's a bunch of stuff that's going on there, but for the public portion of it, we are actually going to unveil a new kit, and that kit actually has a direct relation to the Tank Museum. So that's why we're doing it there. Not only that, but we're going to be filming a bunch of episodes of various video footage talking about tanks and armored vehicles, sort of a bridge between the real thing and of course the Lego fan creations, which we do. We'll be there with Beyond the Brick TV.
You might have heard of those guys. Maybe?
Yeah, and then also
Might have
doing
heard of-
the Tank Museums, their own video channel. So we'll be doing a series of video shoots. It won't be on Brickmania TV, so you'll have to go watch some of our. These are channels we actually recommend, so it's not like we're missing out. You'll still be able to see these. Highly recommend you subscribe to those two channels anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, so kind of a cool collaboration. Obviously, you know, Brickmania is kind of the blend between the Lego community and the military community, and so we're going over there in a situation where I think that all those worlds will come together at the Tank Museum in Bovington, or once again, however you say it. But that is October 8th. I think it's a Tuesday, right? Something like that.
It is a Tuesday. Sorry, it's not a weekend, but that's just the way that it works. The event is free, but you do have to pay for admission to the museum.
Okay.
So we will be on the museum
It's
ground.
probably worth the admission price. So
I'm guessing. I'm guessing.
based on pictures and videos we've seen, that place just looks insane.
I've been by this place many times. I've never had a chance to go, so I'm super looking forward.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm happy for you guys. I'm excited to see how that turns out when we come back. So make sure to be on the lookout for more content upon their return. The final mention before we get to the October models, we are having an eBay auction that is live now and is going to end on October 6th. So make sure to head over to the Brickmania eBay page to check out what exclusive models that may be out of production or not available anymore will be posted up on that. And you know, get a chance maybe if you missed an initial release to get what you want. So once again, that auction is live now on eBay and will end on October 6th, which is a Sunday evening. You know, kind of a typical 7-day period for a auction.
Sorry, my phone's going off.
Yeah, it's all good. So make sure to get on that while it lasts. Okay, the time is finally here now. We are going to discuss the new releases for the upcoming month of October. So the one we're going to start with is actually not on the table right now because it's too big to fit on the table. There's also a pre-order that's already live for it. But let's talk a little bit about the USS Johnston. Once again, that pre-order is already live, but it is going to be a kit that it will be officially released in October, provided there's any left.
Yeah, well, it'll be released for those who pre-ordered it at least. So we do have a pre-order online. I think there was 50 total made in the first batch. Again, this is such a huge model. I don't think there's going to be a second batch. I mean, if there's a huge demand, who knows what's going to happen. But definitely the number one is going to the U.S. Navy. It's going to be on display. They're going to be traveling around with it. It is a 4-foot long model of the USS Johnston. It's 1/96 scale, so it's not minifig scale. It's about 1/3 minifig scale. Obviously, minifig scale one would be magnitudes bigger and more expensive. So this thing is still as it's 3,200 something pieces. It's still a pretty large kit. Comes with several printed elements, so we're not skimping on that. All the life rafts and stuff are printed. The hull number, the flag, the battle flag, they're all printed. Does come with a alternative set of stickers, so you can make the USS Kidd, the USS Cass and Young, and the USS Hull, all three other famous late Fletcher class destroyers. It'd be appropriate colors for all three of them anyway. So, if you have a favorite hometown destroyer you wanted to do, that's you have everything that you could do. You can make alternative models. It is quite a nice piece, great display piece. I actually have a display case coming for mine. So I will let people know where I got this display case. Once I get it, I will share that information.
Brickmania, the display case.
Yeah, I mean, we could just buy them and sell them to you, or we could just send you to the company that makes them because skip the middleman. I'll have that information.
Brickmania logo in the corner of the case.
Get a sticker.
Double the price.
Okay, so also being released the week that the Johnston comes out, there's a smaller kit that's also going to be available, and that's the converged flag sitting right over there. Landon, you want to show that off real quick? So from what I understand, that is our anti-aircraft, German anti-aircraft gun. Kind of a cool fact about that, I know it was able to be taken apart and then hauled by troops, and then it also had kind of an interesting stand that allowed it to be set up on like super uneven terrain while still firing. I think this one was designed by John, but do you want to maybe touch on it, Dan, a little bit, just about some of the cool features of that kit?
Sure. Well, I mean, the Gebirgs flak is actually coinciding with next month's figure of the month, which we haven't yet to announce. So the Gebirgsjäger, the mountain troops, will be coming out. So we actually put a gun with it. It is a pack gun, which means you can break it down, throw it on pack animals, or carry it by hand up the mountainside. So these are mountain troops. This is basically a pack 30, pack 36.
36.
That they made lightweight everything for it. So you don't have all the extra, usually that thing's transported on wheels. This one's not. Has a special tripod, as mentioned, and it does the normal things you would expect. Traverses, goes up and down, that kind of fun.
Does it compact into a little ball and roll down like the mountain?
No.
You may have seen this before in a certain space trilogy. No.
No.
It does look like one.
It does.
If you turn it around, yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, it's cool. It got a little removable ammo box and stuff in there too. So John put some fun features in there, so make sure to pick that up. But like they were saying, it coincides with the mountain troop, German mountain troop, which is the minifigure of the month. We don't have that one here with us right now, but we can throw up some video on the screen. Landon, can you talk us through a little bit about this minifig?
Yes, the Gebirgsjäger. Super excited for this one. I think we've been wanting to make this one, and it's finally come up on our project list. And we're kind of pulling out all the stops for this one. We have a all-new custom 3D printed field cap for this guy that we've been working very hard to produce for this. So there weren't any other options out there that we were quite satisfied with, so we decided to take it on for ourselves, and I think we're really excited for this new custom element designed completely in-house, printed in-house. Really cool. And then, what else? He's just decked out in mountain climbing gear. I'm trying to remember what it looks off the top of my head.
3D printed,
There's a bit of texture printing on the hobnails on the boots. So I think that's probably an industry first, texture printed hobnails. So those mountain climbers, they have just really intense, metal. They pretty much clamp around the side of their boot a little bit, and they just look really gnarly. That was one of the biggest features to stand out on me from their uniform.
Doubles as melee weapon.
Probably, yeah. I would not want to get. I would not want to get a boot in the face from that. So that would really hurt.
Yeah.
What else? You'd see them occasionally, they've been up in the mountains for who knows how long, so they get kind of grizzled, and he's got a beard on his face. So that was
Nice.
Sunburned and
yeah. You're up in the mountain for who knows how long.
Yeah, especially
crazy
in the
terrain.
front.
So stay tuned for that one. Hopefully if we get some renders, we'll have them up on screen here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I'm very excited for that.
The minifigure of the month of October. Okay, so the next kit we are going to go after is one that pretty much since it was on Cody's desk way back when, people have been nonstop commenting on social media, which is rightfully so because it is a very impressive kit. This is the F22 Raptor, another one that we were able to see at EAA. So Cody, obviously this must have been quite the undertaking. Go through this build a little bit and tell us just about kind of some of the new techniques or the inspiration you took from EAA.
Yeah, so going back to having a Lockheed Martin license, we're not dragging our feet.
Yes, no
We're
kidding.
diving right into the Sikorsky and Lockheed Martin licensing product. So this just was an obvious choice. It was next on our list whether or not we were going to have a license. So it's a twin-engine air superiority fighter, and it's also stealth capable. So I made the F-35B last year, and it looks incredibly similar. There's a lot of same features. This is just a bigger version of that, I guess I would say. However, this was the
original.
The original.
And that top-down view is just gorgeous. To get the shape perfect.
Yeah, the shape is definitely one of the I mean, other than the size, and then there's a lot of little bells and whistles that you worked into this thing too.
Yeah, there's internal missile bays that hold missiles. So there's an armament included. And going forward, we're going to start dialing back on doing add-on packs, and we're going to start including a lot more in the models.
For sure, for the high-end kits. Well, maybe some of the more simple kits we'll see.
Yeah, so yeah.
But
we're
for these
dialing
high-end.
back for sure. Yeah. So you're going to get everything included in the kit, including a stand. It has thrust vectoring, obviously not real.
In real life.
Everything moves. I think there's like 27 moving parts and retractable landing gear. You can fit a figure inside the cockpit. There's a detailed cockpit.
Comes with a stand, right?
Yeah, it comes with a stand.
What?
No more buying the stand separate.
Yeah.
You kind of want it
Either you
anyways,
get
so-
one or you don't.
Right. So yeah, it's packed with everything, movable features, and a two-tone color scheme. So I tried to, as best I could, build the light gray perimeter around the wing surfaces, just for that radar absorbing paint that they have. So I think it turned out pretty cool. I think it looks stealthy, anyways.
What
as much
plane?
as Lego can be. Yeah. What plane? I don't see a plane here. So yeah, that was a fun build. It's a really durable model.
Yeah, looks great.
Definitely cool. One that people have been excited for, and that will be available the week of 10/10. So make sure to mark your calendars for that one, because I'm assuming at least the first batch of these are going to go quick. So make sure to get on that, because this is definitely one of the cooler models. And once again, is one that is kicking off our officially licensed kits along with the F-16. So it's cool to it is a piece of Brickmania history as well as a cool kit. So moving on from there, the week of 10/17, we're going to be releasing the Super Sherman. Dan, so from what I understood, you previously had a model of this that you kind of like used for personal use, or just was kind of a cool thing to have around the office. But now
personal
it
use
is a kit.
Yeah, I made one of these, a remote control version that we had terrorized our visitors at the Brickmania Toy Works open house when we were doing that. So, and there was always like requests to make it as a kit, and we just never fit it into the schedule until now. I mean, we started doing this main battle tank series, and it came up. We're kind of in the middle of our Cold War. Actually, we're coming to the end of our Cold War main battle tank, seriously. So there's this, and there's only maybe one or two left after this, so that we plan on doing this series. So cool features about it. I mean, it's all dark tan throughout.
I'm loving that dark tan color
Yeah, the
scheme.
color looks awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't have any of the stickers or anything that's going to be coming with it, or printed parts. I actually don't even think there are printed parts on this.
And some
Custom
color
figure,
changes
yeah.
as well.
Right.
So-
We're
so-
waiting. This is prototype.
This is prototype model. There's some stuff that'll change.
The barrel, however, on there, the
Yeah,
barrel
look
and the
at
muzzle
that.
brake are actually custom 3D printed, and those are
wow.
kind of as is. They will be sold in that exact configuration. But those are the two, I guess, prototype pieces of it. So,
Yeah.
That muzzle brake is insane.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
right there's this is the only gun, the only tank that we've seen with this muzzle brake, and with this particular gun configuration. And it was like, well, do we beg Will to make it through brick arms? And it's not a good, for how much work it would be to make that. I don't even know if you could make that
Sure.
in injection molding.
And just the quantities, It's,
Right,
it's
if we're only going to make,
going-
we have 100 of these coming out, and that's it. So that'll be available.
I just want like a muzzle brake collection. How cool would it just
Oh well,
The muzzle
speaking
brakes
of
of
though, we
Brickmania,
are
yeah.
actually making 100 extra barrels and 100 extra guns. So if you do buy a kit and you want to make a second, you'll be able to.
100 extra barrels and 100 extra muzzle brakes?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, right on.
Yeah,
Very cool.
sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I meant.
Just making sure.
Yeah. So if you do have your own pieces and you want to make a second companion one, there will be a sticker sheet that'll include a couple of different turret numbers, so you could theoretically make more than one.
Cool. Are we planning on keeping those barrels and muzzle brakes in stock long term?
I don't know. I don't see
Not
why
sure.
not, but I don't even know where we're going to package that thing in this series.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah, we haven't crossed that bridge yet.
Package it in a tank.
What?
Yeah, free tank with muzzle brake.
What a deal.
So bear in mind that a lot of these October releases are still at some stage in the prototype phase.
Correct.
Right, you're looking at preview versions. There's going to be a lot of different. The minifigs are missing. A lot, the Sherman will come with a IDF tanker. Everything that you see here on the bigger models all come with figures. We just don't have them because they're still in some various stage of production.
But that's what we want to do here with the SitRep. We want to give you a little look forward into what's coming for the next month and whatnot. So obviously this may not be the exact form that you're going to receive, and we'll have additions to it as well, but at least you get an idea of some of the cool releases, so you can plan ahead and get ready for that. Speaking of planning ahead, this is another kit that has received a lot of requests. Let's go over the MH60L Blackhawk.
Clear some space for this.
Yeah, let's. So Dan, obviously that is the 1993 SOAR, correct? Is the
Yeah,
acronym
160th
used?
SOAR. So.
Yep. So from the book and movie that was made famous, let's talk a little bit about just the design here and some of the cool features of this kit.
So this is the MH60L is a special operations version of the Blackhawk. So you have your typical Blackhawk, but this is upgraded with Doppler radar, so all-weather radar, so they could go and follow the terrain and go in really low on the horizon, basically stealthy. And it has a lot of extra features, including just the electronics package for the pilots. It also has infrared suppressors for the engines. There's a lot of other features that they added on to these things that were special operations version. The color in particular, it's almost black. They're like flat black.
It's awesome.
So we can't obviously can't get flat black
You
Lego.
said you had some opening doors as well.
Yeah, it does. So there'll be another video where we go.
We'll get
over
another
all these
video. We'll
details.
show that later.
So it will come with 4 guys. You'll have your 2 pilots and your 2 gunners. So that's all in the pipeline. It'll have a sticker set that will be interchangeable. We couldn't do printed elements because once you printed them, we can't make interchangeable pieces. But there'll be 3 different tail numbers that were actually part of the Operation Gothic Serpent. So that is the Battle of Mogadishu. You'll be able to make 1 of 3. Or you can make 3, I suppose, if you want. Some of the stickers, there's only singles of, like the danger, keep away, the helicopter specific. But you can make it dressed in one of 3 different helicopters. They're great. It's a great model. It's super sturdy.
Yeah.
It's actually quite heavy because it's very well built.
It is heavy.
And
I got a workout right there.
If you wanted to motorize it, it does have all that. It does have the linkage in there.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that on the way down here. You can see the Technic axle poking through right here.
Right. So if you wanted to add a pulley or a chain drive to a regular Lego motor, they'll all fit inside of that.
Very cool. Definitely another kit that for a long time people have been saying, please make the Blackhawk, please make the Blackhawk. Well,
here it is.
Here it is. We finally got it. And that same week as well, there's going to be a smaller kit coming out, that UTV sitting right next to you as well. I'm not sure who does.
That's mine. That's an old.
Okay.
It's a reissue of an older kit. We did it for World War Brick, I think 2014 or 2015.
It's 2015.
2015. We've done a couple versions. This will be a 3rd version now. So sort of
It's just a fun playable model.
Yeah.
Right. It's a special forces all-terrain vehicle basically. And we just wanted to bring it back because we don't have anything small in the modern category. Yeah. You have these modern vehicles that are monsters, and then you're like, well, we do have other things in that category. We want to bring some back.
Right.
Very, very cool. Let's go over what's the other little 4x4 here? That I'm not sure exactly the date on that release, but that's also a smaller kit, October release. Talk to me a little bit about that as well.
That's the Type 95 Kurigane.
Yeah,
I believe it's how it's pronounced.
Right.
Okay.
So it's a little Japanese staff car, and there were also I believe there are truck versions of it too. So it's a 4-wheel drive car. It's just a goofy little car.
Yeah. It's really
it's sort of like we've done the Kubo wagon, we've done the Jeep. Let's do we know there's a Japanese equivalent. We know there's the Russians had. Like we know that there's a Japanese one, and it's actually quite hard to find much information because these were made early in the war. They did make them throughout the war, but they were very obscure. We didn't have a lot of Japanese invaders on our soil, so there's not a whole lot of examples that survived, at least on this shore.
Yeah, most of the examples you would see was if the Russians captured them.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of Russian, rednecks in way eastern Russia with these things driving them around on their farms.
Yep.
All right, very cool. So that covers the small kits. So finally, our last kit that we are going to go over is going to be released on the 31st of October, if all goes according to plan. This prototype is literally fresh off of Cody's desk. It is the CH53E Super Stallion. A lot of work went into this kit, Cody. I know that especially the tail was quite a beast, and then obviously the 7 rotors on the top. So talk to me a little bit about this and just kind of the process behind that build.
So there's, so I did the Pavlo earlier, 2019. So a lot of the framework was mapped out already. There's just a few updates in it, but that was enough to, have me panicking trying to get it done in time, because I've had a lot of Mondo kits to make.
Yes, you have.
The last few months. So this is another one to add to the list. As part of the Sikorsky family. Again, not dragging our feet there. And there's a ton of variants of this style of 53. So, yeah, this is the CH53E Super Stallion. There's also a C Stallion. There's a King Stallion, which is the newest. That's a much larger version.
Has it even been a release?
Yeah, there are some in service as of May 2018, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And that version, you can fit a Humvee inside the fuselage, whereas opposed to these older versions, they would just tow them underneath.
Sure.
With hooks. So I have 4 winches in here. So
What?
It is a heavy lift helicopter. There's 7 blades on the rotor. Pavlo previous had 6.
Yeah, check out those 7 blades. That's a really nice configuration you came up with there.
And they all do retract and fold back for carrier stowage. Tail folds up as well. So maybe if we build a C5 Galaxy someday, we'll be able to cram one of these inside. Not giving any hints because I don't want to do that.
It's on the list.
It's on the list.
It's the first time hearing about this.
Man.
The price of Lego will suddenly spike.
Yeah.
Gray Lego is not existent.
The great Lego shortage of 2020.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is the newest prototype. I still have yet to build the drop tanks, put those on the sides. Drop tanks, external fuel tanks. And there's
would go
going to
right
be
here.
a fun little boat to put inside of it, a little Zodiac boat.
Cool.
With a soldier. So I planned anyways. We'll see. So it's a Marine helicopter.
Yeah.
And they would drop Marine expeditionary units out the back. Just hover above the water and drop a boat out the back and do some training exercises with that.
Sure.
So I think that'll be a fun playability feature to have included. So.
Yeah, it'll be great. We'll have several of them on our carrier, right?
Right.
Still building the carrier, right?
We are.
Okay.
Along with the Seahawks and
Yeah, Seahawks, that's another.
There's just a few more licenses we have to line up, and we'll be ready
Amphibious
to go.
assault vehicle. Right.
All right, very cool. Well, stay tuned for all of that coming up. So there you go, Brickmaniacs. That will take you through the month of October. Guys, thank you so much for joining me and going through all these models. I know you've seen what you want to see now, so we won't keep you around here any longer. Make sure to stay tuned. We will, once again, we're doing these at the first of every month, so our next one will be November, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.